It is time. It is Wednesday. It is a shade earlier than normal. Chip Patterson, Cover 3 podcast moderator, CBSSports.com. My friend, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hope you are. Thanks for adjusting your schedule for the champions.
That's right.
It's like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I am on CBS Sports Network for the entirety of the 2 o'clock hour, which normally works great with our regular Wednesday schedule. But with some of the Champions League coverage and the wrap-up show that they do with the Galazzo Network, everything kind of gets moved around a little. So I appreciate you adjusting for what will now be my 1 o'clock hour appearance on CBS Sports Network.
Do you have a side you are fancying today? There's a lot of matches.
Listen, not today because I put my hand on the stove yesterday, Adam. What? I'll tell you. I thought that a proud program like Red Bull Salzburg would have a better response after losing in match day 1 and then being back home against whatever Brest is. And buddy, let me tell you,
no.
The response was horrid.
Oh.
In fact, I know that we don't have the groups anymore, so it's a lot harder for me to go ahead and eliminate teams from contention. But let's just leave Red Bull Salzburg just at home. They're a young team, and they have played young.
Yeah.
They have made a lot of mistakes, and so that kind of has me at least thinking that maybe I'll just stick to the college football for today.
Sit out the league phase of the newfangled Champions League. Yeah, 4-0 Brest. I'm obviously interested in Liverpool Bologna today at 3:00. All right, let's move on. So we saw this news on Monday. I think Heather Dinich was the first to talk about it. It's been everywhere. Heather Dinich from ESPN, that the Big Ten and the SEC, which, by the way, are meeting together without anybody else, they have decided that they want 4 automatic bids each to the college football playoff. And I'm assuming that we're talking now a 14-team playoff, because if we're still talking about 12, then we're really only talking about 1 at-large bid available after the others get doled out, ACC, Big 12, and Group of 5. And if Notre Dame is any good, then we're done with at-large teams. I have to assume we're going to 14. What was your initial thought when you saw that?
Power and leverage.
Right.
Yeah. Just a flex.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, just they already. I joked with you on this unprecedented statewide platform that I called it the stab.
That's the free space, by the way, of your appearance now.
It is STAB, stab, for the Super 2 Advisory Board.
Yes.
Because they told us a long time ago that they were creating this group.
Yep.
I don't view this as some clandestine meeting. No. I don't think anybody around college sports should look at it as like, oh no, this is the sign that it's all about to come crashing down, because they have told us that they are working in unison, sharing notes about what they want the future of big-time college football to be. So I'm unsurprised by the news, and my reaction is power and leverage.
All right, so do they want the future of college football to be uncompetitive?
I'm not in the room. I mean, nor am I. But when I see this, it has nothing to do. Like, why do we have a playoff? I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. I know why we have a playoff. We have a playoff to create more money, right? Is there a second reason we have a playoff? I think college football is great on Saturdays in the fall. You know, it's
right.
It's kind of even on a mid-game Saturday, like week 6 kind of sets up, AKA don't screw it up Saturday, AKA egg in the spoon Saturday. Like something's going to happen.
Sure.
You know, and that something happening is going to have everybody, rushing to see it and reacting to it, and the highs and the lows of this sick, chaotic sport that is just meant for sick people like us that like love to see all of it play out in such a high stakes environment. Whether it's 12 teams, whether it's 14 teams, whether you got automatic bids, whether you don't have automatic bids. I routinely believe that the sport of college football being only focused on the college football playoff is only trying to grab people that don't love college football and neglecting people who love college football.
See, I contend that in that group of people who don't love college football are Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, because they are actively eating away at the fabric of college football. What you're selling to fans, and this may be, you might just let me editorialize this and just nod and smile, whatever, that's fine. But what they're selling to fans, forget about what the money they're making for their own leagues. What they're selling to fans is competition, an expanded playoff, more opportunity. Except they're not. If they go to 4-4, assuming they have to still allow the ACC, Big 12, and Group of 5 in, Notre Dame, if they're any good, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case this year, it's at least a little shaky, in a year where they are, we're just talking about 2 other at-large. Now, my feeling is we shouldn't have any automatic bids. 0. We should just take the 12 best teams, right? The SEC would still get 4, 5, 6, 7. Who knows? This year they might get 8. I don't know. But to me, this just guarantees that we are probably going to have at least 1 and maybe 2 Big Ten teams that really don't deserve it, that just aren't good enough to be in the playoff. And to me, it's non-competitive. And I'm not even sure that it's not an antitrust violation, because I've seen that floated around with lawyers on Twitter. He's just nodding.
It's the college football playoff invitational. No one said competitiveness was a part of it. It's just who wants to get invited to play in our party.
Right. I think it's sort of like an elevated event. Right, and yes. On the PGA Tour, which we have other issues about that coming down the pike. Let me ask you about, maybe it's just the nature of what I do, but when I read and hear things that to me sound intellectually dishonest, it bothers me, and it shouldn't bother me as much as it did. But coming out of the Georgia-Alabama game, which was, one of the great spectacles I have ever watched in college football. I was stunned as Georgia was being laid waste to in the first quarter in Tuscaloosa, and even more stunned that Alabama capitulated all the way to the point where they needed not a miracle comeback, but a last-minute, 2-minute drive to retake the lead. It was 28-0. There's no way that Alabama can blow that lead, except they did. And maybe that's how good Georgia is. But coming out of it, a national college football writer who I will leave out said that for those people who don't think that, who think that the 12-team playoff diminishes the regular season, you're crazy. And I'm thinking, wait a second. Can we just do a math problem here? A 4-team playoff. You don't think that mattered? Didn't the result of that game, wouldn't it have mattered more with a 4-team playoff as opposed to a 12?
I think it matters immensely for the SEC championship race.
Yes, which also matters in a 4-team playoff.
I think it's huge.
Yeah,
because you've got Texas, and you've got Alabama, and you've got Georgia, and you've got Tennessee.
And Georgia plays the other 2 of those, by the way.
Fraudulent rebels over here already got exposed. Might get got by Cocktober in Columbia. Missouri still hadn't woken up. They don't even know the season started yet. We'll see what happens in College Station. But forget the playoff. Just even how do we pick the 2 teams that will play for the SEC championship? Head-to-head results between contenders are the number one most important thing.
Yeah.
The Big 12 is absolutely impossible to figure out. But I'll tell you what is huge is any time that we get those teams that are in the mix for those spots in the Big 12 title game facing off against each other, because that head-to-head result could be it. Colorado beating UCF could put Coach Prime in the spotlight on that Saturday in December. Like, any time that we have head-to-head results between teams that want to be, hey, shoot, SMU's playing at Louisville right now.
Yeah.
SMU, we thought we left them for dead after losing to BYU. Turns out BYU's not that bad. They changed the quarterback. All of a sudden, everything's starting to look okay for the Mustangs.
Yeah, happy New Year, by the way, to BYU's quarterback. That's the most hysterical thing ever.
Yeah, Jake Retzlaff, the Hebrew Mormon, just something. He needs his own action movie because he's a dual threat quarterback too. So he runs a lot, which means he's fearless. Yeah.
I mean, that's the weirdest thing. Although, as an aside, a long time ago, I covered an NCAA tournament in Salt Lake City. A huge Israeli population in Salt Lake City. Yeah.
How about it?
There you go.
So yeah, my thought is the significance, not only emotionally for Georgia, emotionally for Alabama, for Kalen DeBoer, for Kirby Smart, the way that these things weigh on themselves and their fan bases, but to me, it's just it was a huge result for the SEC championship race, and that was the thing that it was probably like my biggest implication takeaway from what was just a fantastic college football game. Oh, and I'll throw one more piece on this. I think. Like, again, forget the college football playoff.
Right.
I think there were a lot of college football fans who watched their team play on Saturday afternoon and then watched those two teams play on Saturday night and thought this is a different sport.
100%.
Like, there are so many fans that watched their team play and then saw that game and they were like, oh,
yeah,
okay, so...
I even think there's a difference between what we watched Friday night. A glaring difference between what we watched like Friday night and Saturday. Tech. Yes.
With 100%.
I mean, but I'm talking about I think the personnel is very different. Aside from the coaching and all of that. The personnel is super different.
Aside from the Mario Cristobal, Brent Pry game management challenge, oh, buddy. I was like, let's go. I watch so much college football that I do kind of in a sick way enjoy some of these coaching debacles. And so you identify a profile and I was like, okay, late game scenario with these two. Let's see how this one goes. And it was only one-upped by the officiating on the final play.
I talked to David Hale about this yesterday. Do we agree that they got the call right, even though they got it in a, as David Hale said, a bass-ackwards way? They got the call right, correct?
I did not think watching it live, and again, I was cackling, so I might probably my eyes weren't even great at that late stage of Friday night. But I did not realize live about like the Miami player standing out of bounds, hand on the ball, therefore like play is dead at that moment.
Right.
And it's made me think since then, nobody shows great awareness on Hail Marys into the end zone anymore. Just get one defender to stand out of bounds. Just see if you can touch it. Just one defender. Your only job is to stand with your heels out of bounds. And if you touch it, incomplete pass.
Yeah.
So by the letter of the law, the final result of incomplete pass, I agree, is correct. I did not see it live and recognize that. And certainly the process was extremely confusing. But yeah, end result seems correct.
I don't know how they called it a touchdown on the field live. That's the thing that I couldn't figure out. It seemed
vibes. That was vibes. I don't know.
I'm with you.
This game's been crazy. Doesn't it seem right it ends on a touchdown like this?
All right, two more things. One about not just this game, but in particular. I think the beauty of college football isn't watching the Georgias and Alabamas, although that had its own goofiness, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It's in how absolutely raw, at times awful, at times comedic the sport can be. I think that's what grips people as much as anything. Just an absolutely goofy college football game with stupidity. And I'm not talking about bad decisions. Just, man, that was a stupid play. That was just craziness. To me, is I think that's the lore of the sport to me.
Yeah. I mean, you're asking football in general. You're asking 11 people to do the right thing all at once with the right timing. And then if they do it right, we stop and we start over. If they do it wrong, we stop and we start over. We try it again. I mean, it's incredible. It's awesome. And you're asking 18 to 22-year-olds to do it in front of tens of thousands of people in a high-stakes environment, and you only get 12 chances at this per season. It's the most beautiful sport in the world.
It's just comedy. All right. Do you believe in Clemson?
Yes.
You do?
I don't think they're perfect. I believe in their offense. I'm a little bit concerned with their defensive depth.
Isn't it interesting that you're more convinced about their offense than their defense? Are they in a little bit of a spot here against Florida State on the road against Florida State's quarterback who isn't named DJ Uiagalelei?
No, I don't think that. Here's what my primary concern against NC State and against Stanford. When the backups came in, the opposing offense was able to move the football.
Right.
So that means if we get a couple injuries, that is un-Clemson-like.
Okay.
We are used to Clemson playing a lot of bodies and the twos being young, but having a talent and execution level that is still worthy of. And I know Peter Woods has been out. I know they've been a little bit banged up, especially along the defensive line. I think Clemson's starting line is not only good enough to win the ACC, but good enough to win a college football playoff game against another power conference team. But they need to get everybody healthy and have everybody healthy to do it. I think that Cade Klubnik and the offensive line have both improved since the Georgia game. And I think that we've seen that with the way that they've just brought the hammer for each of those games in that very start. You know, Clemson's first 15 to 20 plays offensively against their last three opponents have been crisp, intentional, and just lethal. And so I think that I'm a believer in Clemson offensively, and I think defensively, while talented, I think they might have some depth issues, and that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, they only needed 16 plays to basically beat NC State. Does Mario get Cristobal at Cal this weekend?
Maybe. Yeah. So Cam Ward has actually played Justin Wilcox twice.
Right.
One time it did not go well for the Bears. Another time Cal's defense got the best of them. I'm be looking to see if Cal can block Miami. The star defensive lineman Ruben Bain has been held out for a while. Cristobal has indicated that he might get the cleared to go for this one. I think that would be big because not only you're trying to defend Jade Knott, but I think that Cal's done a good job of being able to play some complementary football, getting just enough offensively. Obviously, bit them in the rear end a little bit against Florida State. So I've got this as Cal wants to lure Miami into a rock fight late night in Berkeley. Mm-hmm. If Miami obliges, then yeah, Cal could win the game outright. However, if Miami goes out there and scores 28, 30 points, Cal can't do that. Not right. Against Miami's defense. So we like to play the game a lot on the Cover 3 podcast. How many points do you think they need to score to win? And Cal, if Miami eclipses 27, 28 points, they'll win the football game. So I'll be looking to see how Cam Ward does against a defense he's faced before, and I'll be looking to see whether or not Cal can block Miami's defensive front.
Chip Patterson, you are the best, my friend. I will talk to you later. Go Champions League, and we'll watch you on CBS Sports Network coming up, or HQ in 15 minutes.
CBS Sports Network.
Oh, network. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Then it might get some re-airs, but everything on CBS Sports Network has to air live there first. That's the rules.
Put on a shirt and tie.
Terrestrial television.
All right, man.
Oh, crazy world.
Talk to you later.
Sounds good. Y'all be well.